The Harry Oppenheimer Fellowship Award was set up as a memory to my father, and the idea was to create an award at the very top end.
There was a feeling that we should be promoting excellence. That was the whole idea, and therefore to establish an award for the best academic we could find.
Everybody who wins the award is making a massive contribution in their field, and the country benefits from that.
One only needs to look through the beneficiaries of the OMT over its history to see the extraordinary individuals who've come through its doors and are part of its alum network.
I grew up in a part of South Africa called the Eastern Cape, in a small town called King Williamstown, and in a segregated township called Ginsberg. The center of my home was my mother, who was a teacher. I was from very early on inspired to do intellectual work.
I grew up in the Waterberg in Limpopo, and droughts was a huge issue. And one of the things that I used to do is go out and play on a little place that I called the Flat Rocks. And I noticed a plant looking very dead, and it rained, and the next day it greened up. I wrote about this in my 9-year-old diary and forgot about it until after my PhD, when I was reintroduced to my little diary and had read a PhD thesis about resurrection plants. And essentially that's a nickname we give plants which can lose all their water and not die. And for the last 27 odd years, I've been trying to discover the secrets of resurrection plants. And how can I utilize this knowledge to make drought-tolerant crops for our country, for food security in the future?
You know, I was always frustrated that in South Africa we were not doing anything about Black intellectual history. And so I decided to do this biography of Nelson Mandela. The Harry Oppenheimer Fellowship helped me reach archives I would never have been able to reach. And this book really rests on those archives, and that's what this fellowship did for me. Without it, I wouldn't have done this book.
There was a very, very important question whether the long-acting injectable contraceptive called Depo-Provera, DMPA, increased women's risk of acquiring HIV. And the only way that we thought that we could answer this question definitively was to do the gold standard study, which is called a randomized trial. And what the fellowship allowed me to do was to really look in one smaller study and then into a much larger study, which gave us a definitive answer. And the answer was we didn't see an increased risk of HIV. And that means that contraceptive use in the region where HIV continues to be a major issue can continue in the context of high HIV infection.
When I received the HFO award, the first thing I did was to send one of my top master students to Italy for 3 months to do work on cutting-edge equipment, which we just don't have here in South Africa. I took myself off to Zurich, Switzerland for 3 months to do personal research on the role of sugars in plant drought tolerance. I gave 3 other bursaries to students for which other articles were published. And now, 10 years later, I'm still emphasizing the role of sugar signaling in drought tolerance, and that all started with the HFO.